Ticking time bomb. Let's not make him upset. Handle with care. All right, an epic showdown could be shaping up in Congress over immigration. A source tells Fox News that as early as next week, President Obama is planning to announce a 10-part plan to overhaul immigration policy through executive action. The most controversial part calls for expanding deferred action for illegal immigrants who came to the U.S. as children, but also for the parents of American citizens and legal permanent residents. Now, that could allow an upward of 4.5 million illegal adults with children born in the U.S. to stay right here. But some Republicans want to block that action by tying the president's hands financially with a must-pass spending bill. Among them, Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions.
Let's be clear. Immigration officers have told us if this goes through, it will be almost impossible to enforce the law in the future. Can we just say the president has no authority to do this? It's against the law.
All right, Kirsten, I want to go to you on strategy here, because I actually think, as much as I hate this executive order and I don't think it's constitutional, I think that Republicans trying to do this defund strategy is going to be akin to them walking face first into a buzzsaw, because the president likely will win this. That's my take on it. And then Republicans will get painted as not liking Latinos and Latino children, and isn't that the way it's going to go?
Yeah, I think that's right. And if you look at even the Wall Street Journal editorial page, which is very pro-immigration reform, so would really support essentially what Obama's doing plus a lot more. They're sort of arguing you shouldn't do this by executive order because it's going to poison the well with Republicans, and then they're going to be upset and they're not going to want to do anything on immigration reform. And you know what I feel like with that is that, okay, go ahead with that. If that's what you guys want to do, if you want to say we're mad at Obama and we're not going to do anything, have fun never winning an election again. You know, I mean, they can't, this is not an option for them.
I work for
it's not an option for them.
I work for Hispanic, I'm Latina, I work for a Hispanic organization that has been on the forefront of calling for immigration reform. And I have to tell you, what he is doing is not in the best interests of the Latino community. In fact, I think he's willing to do almost anything to not work with the Congress, including screwing over Hispanics in the long term, because this is a temporary measure. It only lasts as long as the president. And in the end, what they want is a permanent answer to immigration reform. That's what Hispanics...
Which President Obama wants to do, and the Republicans have not wanted to do.
But remember, when the Republicans with Marco Rubio were working on a legislation that had very good hope for the Dreamers, what did he do? He pulled out from under the rug, enacted DACA, which had unintended consequences, which is this surge. This is going to happen again with this legislation. If we don't do an immigration reform that addresses all of the concerns, we're going to have a surge. And also, we may actually be doing something very dangerous for Latinos, which is he's going to coax them out of the shadows. They're going to be exposed to the law. This could get overturned.
But the only reason it would get overturned is because a Republican would overturn it. Which
it could be overturned in the courts as well.
Which goes back to the point that the Republicans are the problem here. The Rubio plan did not have what needed to be in it to work with Democrats. There wasn't the kind of path to citizenship that needed to exist. Well, look, there have been multiple immigration bills that are very reasonable that George Bush supported, that Republicans on the Hill would not support, that have path to citizenship.
The most powerful members in the House, and Boehner, Paul Ryan, all of them, and about 150 to 100, my husband's a congressman, 150 to 170 congressmen want this to pass.
Let me get Peter and Sandra in here. But Peter, doesn't this also wedge Republicans, as Kirsten brought up? I mean, doesn't the president know that? But he's not really allowing Congress to work this out on their own.
I don't think that the question is, do Republicans want to reform the immigration system? Everybody in Washington talks about how Republicans want to do that. They just don't like amnesty. But the White House is acting surprised that Republicans would balk at basically letting 4.5 million people potentially stay here. 4.5 million people is the size of Louisiana. So if we're going to just let a whole state, a big state-size group of people stay, it's not a surprise that Congress is going to want to maybe just think about this for more than like a week.
It's $1.5 million
and Sandra, on the economy, a lot of people worried about jobs.
The timing is very poor when you're still talking about a very high real unemployment level in this country. You know, the underemployment level we keep talking about. If you see this happen, you're talking about a lot of jobs that go to, you know, American people that really need them right now.
A lot of union workers, which could be a wedge issue for Democrats.